There's an echo.
Maybe it's not on YouTube.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. It's good to have you back. One never knows. From the night to the morning, what will happen to people? So, thank you, Kim. Okay, so we're back, and I'll give a little summary from yesterday. What we're doing, we're studying the Anapanasati Sutta, which is the meditation on breathing. It's located in the Pali Canon and other places. A lot of what I used was from Bhikkhu Nyan Nomali's work, Meditation of Breathing, translation of the Pali Canon, and also commentaries. And also a little bit of Analeo, sorry. Anyway, so in terms of why we're interested in, why we might be interested in learning this particular sutta, is that it's really good for dealing with the discursive mind, as I mentioned yesterday. So we talked a little bit about taming the mind and how it was like a mad calf or a crazy calf or something. And that the way that we tie it to a pole was through mindfulness, right? And then we use the breath at the same time. So it's mindfulness of the breath. And also that this particular meditation is good for people who are just beginning, as well as people who've been doing it a long time. Because the basis of it is, again, the concentration. It really helps with one's concentration. And it also leads us to the connection with the Four Noble Truths and understanding the Four Noble Truths. So that's an aspect of it. So in order to do this, the recommendation from the Buddha, according to the Pali Canon, is first to find a place to sit in the trees, or if not the trees, in a secluded place, this is a secluded place, quiet. And it's a place to sit and also to establish seclusion in the mind. So it's not only a place but away from people, but it's a seclusion in the mind. And then we relax and get comfortable. We relax the mind, and we become aware of the mind and rest in the body. And as the body rests, just like the body rests on the Christian, so too we are aware of the mind resting, the body is resting. And yet at the same time we have the presence of mind, and we focus on that, the presence of mind. So here we are in the sitting position. We establish a stable foundation in the mental realm by formulating a motivation or intention. Is why are we meditating? And ultimately, we arrive to the altruistic dimension. So slowly, our attention comes to the spine, the bottom, and we notice the vertebrae as we go up to the top, up to the skull. And we naturally align ourselves and become straight. And we relax and align until the whole body feels suspended from the top of the head. And we rest, relaxing downwards without tension. And so there's a natural straightness in the body, and we find straightness in our mind. It's present here and now. The mind is present here and now. And we can't really live in the past or the future. All we have really is the present moment. It's the only time to live. So before I go any further, I want to hand out all of the steps for the Anapanasati. Let's see, make sure. Copy myself. Okay. And I don't know, I think some people didn't get handouts. Melanie, did you receive the handouts?
Yes, I did. Do you want me to share it in the chat?
If you wouldn't mind, while we're talking about it so that they can see.
Okay, I will download it now and put it in the chat.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so what I'd like to do first, I think, actually, is go through these steps. We'll just look at them together and then we'll actually do them. So the first two you're familiar with from yesterday. So breathing in long. I know I breathe in long. Breathing in. Oh, I've got double longs again. Let me fix that because I remember short.
You don't on mine.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Anybody else's is wrong? Okay, yeah, it is good. Okay, never mind. Okay, so then the second one is breathing in short. I know I breathe in short. And they make a distinction, well, I'll tell you that in a minute. Anyway, and then breathing out short. I know I breathe out short. So we remember that from yesterday. So the third one, we'll start there. And again, we'll just go through them first. So one trains, experiencing the whole body. I shall breathe in. One trains, experiencing the whole body. I shall breathe out. Now, from here on, there's a difference from the first two. Because the first two, you're just breathing and you know you're breathing. There's no, it's different from 3 on in that you're saying one trains, experiencing the whole body, I shall breathe in. So it's putting it in the future. So first you kind of, you pay attention to the body first and then you'll breathe. So it's a little bit of a shift. And I noticed when I was working on this, I guess it was last night, my temptation was I just wanted to breathe. But this is, the instruction is you're experiencing the whole body first and then you breathe. Experiencing the whole body and then I breathe. So it's a little shift from the other one where I know I'm breathing in long and breathing out long. So anyway, I just want to point that out. Okay, so the fourth, so also I wanted to point out that these first 4 steps are mindfulness of the body. So you're talking about the breath in the first 2, well, through the whole thing, but you're also focusing on the extension of the breath in the first 2. And then the third, well, now we're looking at the whole body. It's not just the, how you're breathing, but it's the whole body and then you breathe. And the fourth one then is calming the whole body. I shall breathe in. So the breathing comes after that. Then we move into the mindfulness of feeling. And so it may seem odd, I don't know. This one says, one trains experiencing joy, I shall breathe in. And you think, well, why joy? What's that about? But in actuality, when you get this down and you're doing it so that it's comfortable the whole way through, this is a natural state you come up that comes to you. So that's why it's there. And this is, in the Theravada, this is the place where you can start entering the jhanas, which we're not going to really talk about because we're not really interested so much in that. That's Theravada stuff, we're into absorption and so forth. But anyway, doesn't matter. But anyway, that will naturally arise, joy will naturally arise. And then the happiness will naturally arise as well. But in any case, you're doing the same thing. You're experiencing it, and then I shall breathe out. Experiencing happiness, I shall breathe out. But of course, we have to train ourselves in that. Right? It takes a little time to get into the groove of all that. So we'll practice it. And then the next one trains experiencing mental activities, I shall breathe in. What are they talking about on mental activities? Well, you're not looking at the brain or the mind itself, but you're just looking at the things that are rising and falling while you're doing this. So it may be emotion states, and maybe thoughts or emotion states. So you just see it, and then you breathe in. You just see it and breathe in. So it's not like you're holding on to it or anything. You just know it if that's what's happening. And the next one is the same, only you're calming it. You say, okay, this is arising. So then you just calm all the up and down, and I shall breathe in. Then you move into the next section. These are called tetrads, I call it formally. And so this one is the third one. It's the mindfulness of the mind. So what happens here is you're constantly breathing throughout these. And in the first section of it, you're really paying attention to the breath, the first two. And as you move into the mindfulness of feeling, that the breath kind of goes in the background a little bit, and the joy comes forward. And I'm not saying forcing it, that's what generally happens. And then when you get into and you go through the rest of them, they're kind of that way. Okay, mental activity is coming up, and I shall breathe. So the breath doesn't ever go away. It's there, but it's like the mental activities are in the forefront, and breathing is just back, like your heart might beat, like it might be. You know your heartbeat is, you can feel it and stuff, but it's not like the center thing you're paying attention to. So does that make sense? It'll make more sense when we do it. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just wondering though that when we're thinking the words "I shall breathe in," we're meant to breathe in, and I'm trying to get a sense of, or is that just going on continuously?
Well, it is, because you gotta breathe.
Right, but I mean, I didn't know whether they were meant to sort of suspend our breath for a second while we hum or imagine something.
Yeah, I think in learning it, you do kind of have to do that a little bit. That's not, once you get used to the steps, then you'll just kind of do it automatically. But that's, we're kind of in that place of, oh, what's next? Or, what am I supposed to be doing? So there is gonna be that, yeah. So don't worry about it. Once you get it all used to all the steps, it'll become something much more. Okay, so then, I'm sorry, yeah.
So maybe it could be your deep unconscious breath and then conscious breath. So an unconscious breath, as you're saying, one train's calming. I mean, you're not holding your breath.
No, you don't want to hold your breath.
You know what I mean? So you are breathing, but you're not consciously breathing.
Oh, well, maybe that's true.
And then I shall. Then you're moving to a conscious act.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't worry about whether it's conscious or unconscious. I mean, it's not.
But also yogis have great ability to hold their breath for a long.
Right, but we're not doing that.
I
No, the idea is that you might have to suspend your breath just a minute, just a second, because what am I doing? You know, I don't know what the step is. So that's all I'm saying about that. And actually what happens over time is they talk about the body being gross, not as an ugly area, but as in gross movement, or the breath is rough, you know? And then over time it becomes more subtle. And the more subtle that it becomes, then you get closer to the next step, like the mindfulness of feeling, and then the next step, because you've accomplished, if you want to say that, the subtlety of what you're doing, instead of it just being a gross thing trying to maneuver it. Do you know what I mean? So it's a learning process, is what I'm saying. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. All right. So then there's the mindfulness of the breath. Of the mind. And so again, one trains experiencing the mind. I shall breathe in. Now, experiencing of the mind, I want to talk about that for a minute. I see it differently from mental activity. So the mental activity is kind of the stuff that's rising and falling in your thoughts or your feelings. But to experience the mind, in my experience, and it actually took a while before I really kind of connected, I've been doing it a while, that you're experiencing what the mind is doing in general. And what happened to me was I realized, we always talk in Zen, Buddhism in general, that the mind is a sense organ. And I think I mentioned this yesterday. But in this, when you just notice what the mind is doing, and what I happened to be aware of at some point was that the mind is constantly reaching out and kind of, it's just being aware of this and that, of this and that. It's just sensing, it's collecting data everywhere. And so to me, it is a sense organ in that respect. So it made total sense to me at that point. But prior to that, I didn't understand it that way. So anyway, that's what this means here, is what is experiencing the mind, what is it doing as you breathe in and as you breathe out.
Did you say it's like attending to?
Yeah, it's just being aware. It's just aware.
Vision awareness.
Taking in all this stuff. And it required, it's further down in the steps, it's not way up at the beginning, because you can walk around and not be aware of what's going on in your mind. You know what I mean? So
Because the mental activity is
so great.
distracting.
It's totally
Then there's a more of a
awareness.
attention,
Yes,
not to the specific, like,
exactly.
okay,
Yeah,
gotcha.
that's right. And it continues through this, and that's what you're doing. You're entering into deeper levels of concentration. Yeah. And so things are getting quieter. I don't know if you've been in a sesshin, for example, intensive for several days. After a couple of days, your thoughts are there, but they've gone somewhere to the background, and awareness is there. The experience. So that's kind of what's happening here, is getting to that sort of point where you're more concentrated in your concentration. Anyway, yeah, so that's right. Okay, so in this one, you start out experiencing the mind, so you're aware of what the mind is doing, and then in a general sense. And then the second one is gladdening the mind. You think, what, why does that come up? Isn't that curious? But again, these are natural states as things are quieting down more and more. And then step 11, one trains concentrating the mind. So you've been concentrating, and this is a more focused concentration there. I shall read out. And then step 12 is one trains liberating the mind, or one trains dropping the mind. So this is the Dogen's reference to dropping the mind. And it's the liberation of the mind. It's where these other things kind of drop away. You know, you drop away the more gross elements of things. So this earlier stuff, the constant arise and fall of thoughts being in the forefront, they're back in the back, and so you've just gone deeper into it, and so you start to lose your attachment to the grasping of things at that point. And then the next one, you move into the mindfulness of mental objects. And this is a real interesting one, section. So this is the point at which one starts the contemplations. And so one trains contemplating impermanence. I shall breathe in. So we've heard of impermanence. And so this is an important thing to be contemplating. This is part of the insight, right? The insight that we've been aware of from the beginning of this thing is how everything changes. The breath is constantly changing. It's in, it's out. How the body is changing. How all of a sudden we feel joy, and then the joy goes away, and then we have happiness, and then we're noticing mental activity. So it's constant change, and the constant change of when we are sitting. You know, we're not stagnant, or we're not completely stationary. There's always things moving around. And when we get up to walk in walking meditation, every movement, there's a foot goes forward, and there's a ton of million movements, but they're all changing constantly. So this is kind of the culmination of that idea of impermanence, the impermanence of everything. So one contemplates that. That's a great opportunity to spend some time with impermanence in this way, in a deep way.
So is contemplating the same as thinking about?
I don't think so. It's just thinking, my way of looking at it anyway, is thinking it's the depth of concentration that you have. It's the depth of, it's where your mind is when you're starting. So just thinking, you could do walking down the street, or, your mind doing anything. But we're talking in very deep concentration here. So, as I said before, a lot of the stuff that you normally notice, your rattly mind is gone. All that's gone. So the contemplation is in this particular case, it's deep. It's deep concentration. Yeah, that's where you are by this time.
Can I ask one more question?
Sure, absolutely.
So these are not things that I'm supposed to be creating. Like when I experience joy, I'm not supposed to be bringing joy to mind, thinking of it joyful. What is my mind like when it's joyful? I'm supposed to just be saying it until it happens naturally.
Well, yes and no. It will arise naturally, but again, we're training. All of these start with training. So the more you do this, the more likely it's going to occur by itself, because it's just practice.
So the more I do this, so this being saying the thing, but also kind of bringing joy to mind.
Yeah, I've always kind of suggested it, just suggest joy, it's okay, joy. Because you're repeating these things in your head.
Right.
So that's enough as a suggestion, right? I mean, you're just reading it.
Okay, so just saying it.
You're just saying it.
So I'm not like digging through and trying to create.
Not
Something
necessarily,
remember,
no, that's
something
not the
like
point.
Right.
It's not really
Okay.
the point. It will arise, and
Okay.
it took me a long time before that actually arose. I think it depends on what your concentration level or threshold is and that kind of stuff.
So just back to the number 11, so when we say one trains concentrating the mind, so I get I think I get the difference between mental activity, which is like the content of what that movie I saw last night or whatever, and then paying attention to the mind itself is like the part that's doing all of that, the sort of capacity or the perceptive kind of. But I don't know what it means to just concentrate the mind, like concentrating on something is what I was kind of coming up with, so I don't know what that means.
Well, to me, it's more like concentrating on the mind, just concentrating, just focusing on the mind.
On the fact of it, the ability.
Okay, I see what you did. Well, you've already done, the first step was to pay attention to what the mind's, you're experiencing the mind. So you kind of have a sense of that, and then the mind is gladdening, so it gets heavy, and then you just knuckle down on more concentration. You just concentrate on the mind. Yeah, just concentrate on the mind. We'll try it and see how that goes.
It seems like concentration is a faculty of the mind, it's like an
Yeah, it's an
activity of the
activity.
mind, and so to use the mind to concentrate on the mind is what's confusing, is that what we're?
Yeah, but it's not the same. Yes.
Well, I'm thinking it might relate to these root words. Concentrating, con means with, and cent means this idea of centering. So with centering, with contemplation, with time. So I'm trying to apply Flint's rule. How simple can I let this be?
There you go.
And if I look at the root word, one trains concentrating the mind, then I'm thinking of, I'm taking my mind and centering it with centering, the root word, then one trains contemplating. I just spend a little more time with it. Con with time.
Yeah, well,
To understand the impermanence.
okay, you're skipping down a bit.
Well, I was doing 11
concentrating.
and 12, but we've been talking about the difference between concentrating and contemplating.
Oh, is that what you said?
Well, mental
said that?
activities, I think Susan was saying, what's the difference between
Yeah, mental activities, that's a whole different thing.
concentrating.
That was earlier on when we were just,
and do something with your
they're
mind,
experiencing it,
to your mind.
just experiencing it, calling it. And so then up here is just, it's just focusing on the mind. One trains focusing on the mind, concentrating the mind, just, yeah.
I like being one-pointed.
This is right.
Concentration, like,
This is
becoming
right.
one-pointed with mind.
That's right, and that's exactly what this whole thing is about. It's one-pointed attention. Yeah. Okay, so does that seem clearer now? Everybody? Looks like, okay. So now we get into the contemplation of dispassion. Do these look familiar to you at all? These contemplations?
No, not for me.
They're kind of from the Heart Sutra.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like the Four Noble Truths. I mean, the impermanence, everything is changing, but the dispassion, you're contemplating on dispassion, you're letting go of sensual desire.
Can you give us a quick review of the Four Noble Truths?
Yeah. So one is there's suffering, the noble truth of suffering. And then that there's, the second one is that there's an origin of suffering. And the third is the cessation of suffering. And the four is the Four Noble Truths, but it's like the release, the letting go to end suffering. So that's where this is kind of heading into the Four Noble Truths. Anyway, so you have contemplating dispassion, and what that's, again, it's desire, right? Contemplating dispassion, letting go of that. And then cessation, contemplating cessation. And the last one is the actual letting go. So the cessation is, oh, okay, this is here, and I don't want this. And the fourth is the actual relinquishing, is letting go.
So that's cessation, okay, that's what I figured.
Okay, so how much time do we have now? 30 minutes? Maybe, hopefully. Sorry.
11:20.
Okay. All right, so now we're gonna do this, and after yesterday, I'm a little bit reticent to read it out, but because I don't want to stress you out more. So how would be the best way to do that? Well, let's just.
I would say read it at least one time, so we get a sense of the flow of it.
Okay,
That would,
and then you can maybe work on your own after. Let's try that. Okay, so again, I kind of got you in the mood and then I stopped, but anyway, get comfortable, relaxed. Yes.
Is it necessary to go in order?
Yes.
This is a linear thing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Tis. Okay, so. All right, so again, we're going to let go of all of our worries, our responsibilities and any plans, grocery list, etc. And then we find a stable foundation of practice with the body in a sitting posture. And then we find a stable foundation in the mental realm by formulating our intention of why we're meditating. And then we notice our spine, pay attention to our spine, and we start from the bottom, go up vertebrae by vertebrae to the top, to the skull. Just noticing each vertebra. We go up the spine. And at the same time, we're allowing the spine to naturally align itself, become straight, just from the attention from bottom to top. And we relax, we are relaxing into and aligning until the whole body feels suspended from the top of the head. And we rest, relaxing downwards without tension. And there's a natural straightness in the body. And now, find straightness in the mind. The mind present here and now, in the present moment. and coming to the present moment, we make mindfulness predominant, bringing it to the fore. We take a moment to familiarize ourselves with the condition of the mind when mindfulness is present. What does the mind feel like when mindfulness is present? Is it soft, gentle, awake, alert, receptive, open, broad, spacious? We take time to be with sati, mindfulness, and we check in on the condition of the mind, meeting it where it is. Presence of mindfulness, we become aware of our breathing, the process of breathing in and out. And we're aware of the basic distinction between inhalation and exhalation. Now, we'll actually start the steps of mindfulness of the body. Breathing in long. I know I breathe in long. Breathing out long. I know I breathe out long. Breathing in short. I know I breathe in short. Breathing out short. I know I breathe out short. One trains experiencing the whole body. I shall breathe in. One trains experiencing the whole body. I shall breathe out. One trains calming the whole body. I shall breathe in. One trains calming the whole body. I shall breathe out. One trains experiencing joy. I shall breathe in. One trains experiencing joy. I shall breathe out. One trains experiencing happiness. I shall breathe in. One trains experiencing happiness. I shall breathe out. One trains experiencing mental activities. I shall breathe in. One trains experiencing mental activities. I shall breathe out. One trains calming mental activities. I shall breathe in. One trains calming mental activities. I shall breathe out. One trains experiencing the mind. I shall breathe in. One trains experiencing the mind. I shall breathe out. One trains gladdening the mind. I shall breathe in. One trains gladdening the mind. I shall breathe out. One trains concentrating the mind. I shall breathe in. One trains concentrating the mind. I shall breathe out. One trains liberating the mind. I shall breathe in. One trains dropping the mind. I shall breathe out. One trains contemplating impermanence. I shall breathe in. One trains contemplating impermanence. I shall breathe out. One trains contemplating dispassion. I shall breathe in. One trains contemplating dispassion, I shall breathe out. One trains contemplating cessation, I shall breathe in. One trains contemplating cessation, I shall breathe out. One trains contemplating relinquishment, I shall breathe in. One trains contemplating relinquishment, I shall breathe out. So that was that. How was that for people? I'm sure the timing was off. What was your impression? Could you keep up with any of it? It's pretty fast.
You know, it's really nice to have you reading it rather than having to read it.
Absolutely.
And I'm just thinking, and it's going to take practice because this was all new. So it would be really nice to have this clip of this recording to use at home.
Yeah, just an audio portion.
Yeah,
I was thinking.
just the audio of you leading us through this
Oh, yeah, okay.
would be really nice.
And
I'd like to practice.
I could have used that to be a tiny bit slow.
Okay.
See, I was thinking a tiny bit faster
I know.
because I'm all caught up in, am I supposed to be very concerned with timing my breaths to the breathing in and breathing? I mean, I was just basically breathing, and when I got to I'm breathing out, I would be aware of breathing out. But I was breathing all along, so it wasn't one breath here, one breath there, one breath in, one breath out. I mean, it was more.
I'll tell you. So the instruction in the Pali Canon is, do it this way and do it more than 5 times and less than 10. And it's just like, this is not the way I did it. Because I can't deal with that many words. I just can't say that many words in a breath. I just need to breathe more often.
Right.
So the way I've done it is I just take one phrase that's going to be the one that's important, which to me is I breathe out long, for example, from the first one. So I breathe out long, because I breathe in long, I breathe out long. So that's what I do. I take the one key phrase, but you need to kind of consider the other ones, know something about them, that they're there, but just focus on what you need to key you in to what we're doing.
Good, that's what I was doing, kind of really short.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Just say calm.
Yes, and the other thing that I did was, I just can't concentrate on that much change in so little time, so I would do each one 4 times.
That's what I was doing with the breath.
Yeah, I went through each one 4 times, and then you know them, you get to learn them that way. And you can keep up with them, and you can really focus on them. I mean, it's just too fast to me. So that's the way I learned it, and so it's been really hard for me to try to work with this one at a time, because I'm used to doing it 4 times at a time. So that's my feeling about it. If you really want to practice with it, is break it up. And, do each one 4 times and just pick a section, just I breathe in long. Or breathing in short, breathing out short. That I know that's an important aspect of it, but you can kind of say that in your brain somehow, but not included in your verbiage.
Right.
And then, it's important to think about experiencing the whole body. That's important, and maybe you want to leave out I'm breathing in. But you need to determine what's going to be the cue for you.
Right, that's the thing that brings
But
things.
I would, duplicate it 3 or 4 times, each one, so you get used to it. And I would also pick part of the phrase that you want.
I'm imagining picking 1 or 2 of these phrases and doing it for like 10 minutes or something, or for a meditation period. And
Yeah.
until I get, I mean, as a way of learning it and
Absolutely. In fact, that's why a lot of times they'll just give people the first two and they just work on that for a certain length of time. And then, because it's not only learning the words and stuff, it's learning, it's not how to breathe, but how to coordinate it with kind of the thought that you have there.
Yeah.
And it takes some time, so you do have to practice it. It's a lot to deal with, but I think it's really worth it because you do move into this space of real quiet, and you can really move into concentration, and this joy does come up. I think it takes a while before you get into the whole pattern of it. And like I say, they're just natural states. And yeah. And then it's interesting that Polly Cannon talks about this, I guess other places too, and Naomi talks about it too, about when doing this, it actually helps you with the 4 foundations of mindfulness, which is in the Satipatthana Sutra. That's what that is. It's longer than this, but this is part of it. And so it's useful for practicing that. And then you've heard of the 7 factors of enlightenment: mindfulness, discrimination of phenomena, energy, rapture, tranquility, concentration, and equanimity. Those naturally arise through doing this. So it's, the thing to be aware of is it could cause some striving, practicing it, so you have to be really careful with that. It's not about that. It's just about learning how to do it and see what happens. It's an experiment.
do you do this while you're sitting zazen?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so this is something that sometimes when you're sitting zazen, this is your meditation practice.
Yeah, and like I say, I would do it, sometimes I would do it the whole hour, and sometimes I would just do it 30 minutes and then I'd switch over to like metta, if I'm really hard. But, good 30 minutes, because you need time for it. And then doing it over and over and over, that's really a good way to, it's any way you want it.
Yeah.
Just doing it once or twice, you kind of lost. And I think it's really a lovely thing for your mind and so forth. So where are we on time?
At 5 minutes.
Okay. Do we have a question? No. So, what do we want to do about 5 minutes? So why don't we take 5 minutes to just practice. And again, we can start with the beginning. And at the beginning seems easy maybe, but it's, again, it's the question of the breath becoming more and more subtle. And what that means is you're less, it's just not, you're not blowing it out or sucking it in or, it's more of a subtle practice. So anyway, so why don't we do that? And do you guys think you can do that on your own, or you want me to say something, or what works best for people? Any comments?
I think I'm just gonna do the first 3.
Okay. Okay, so we'll just,
1 to the 2.
yes, and you've got your sheet there, so we'll just take 5 minutes and and then if you'll end it for us, start us off and then end us, and then we'll.